You'll never have to worry about asset protection once you've watched this video.
By default, a lot of first-time buyers buy their property under personal capacity. Did you know that under personal capacity, your properties are massively exposed? My name is Neo and I'm a property investor, and I've been working with property investors for the past 3 years. And today we'll be talking about the 3 types of ownership that one can go into when it comes to property investing. So with today's video, as I did mention, that we'll be looking at owning a property under a trust versus personal capacity versus business. Most of us, as I did mention, the first properties that we'd own, because of lack of knowledge and not understanding the risks, we do not have a problem with buying a property under personal capacity. So when we're saying personal capacity, what's happening there is that I am buying that property using the payslip that I got and the 3 months bank statement. So what will then happen is that I'll be submitting these documents to my bond originator so that I can get a thumbs up from them. And once they do give me that thumbs up, what will then happen is that if everything goes well, the property will be registered under my name. So in this case, if you're looking at it under Windeed, the property will be written under Neo Nong. And then looking at it from a trust, guys, we finally opened a trust this year. What a trust simply means is that we are opening a trust with a conveyancer. So what a conveyancer is a property lawyer. So what then will happen is that whatever assets that we accumulate, as much as we have purchased them, but we will not be owning them. So a trust, it's like a separate entity alone. So therefore, whatever that happens to me shall not impact whatever assets that are under the trust. Then comes the third form of ownership, which is business. So what happens with business is more of, we have run this business for a certain time, the business has accumulated a credit score, and it's proven to the bank that there is a business model. So what will then happen is that if I buy the property and then we choose to register it under the business, what that means is that the property is not owned by myself. The property is not owned by that legal entity that we spoke about, which is the trust. However, now it's owned under the company, which is then Nong Wealth.
Okay, so now the first point that I'm going to be talking about when you're looking at the risks between the 3 is creditors. So now when you're looking at creditors, if you have a loan and your creditors are actually looking for you, they can come and repossess your house in order for them to pay off that loan. Now we had a situation whereby someone went out to take a loan of around 500,000. As time went by, they were not able to pay off that loan. Now what the creditors did is that they came through to collect their money by selling this property in order for them to recover their money. Okay, so now let's look at it from a business perspective. If we are saying that we registered our property under a business, and now someone or something happens to that business and that person wants to sue the business, that means that the property that I registered under this business is also exposed. So if I do not have enough money to pay off that lawsuit, that means that they could also come through for my property because the property is registered under a business. Now the best one is the trust. Now looking at it from a trust perspective, your things under the trust are secured. But now the con of it is if your beneficiary is under the trust and is listed as a trustee and as a beneficiary, and they happen to lose their mind and now they want to sell the property, it's actually hard for you to remove that person as a beneficiary or as a trustee from that whole portfolio.
The label has covered the risks and the disadvantages when it comes to the different types of ownership when it comes to owning a property. So I'll go into the advantages. Now the advantages is that when it comes to personal, the advantage is that it's not so complicated when it comes to you applying. So the process of applying, because by then what will happen is that you already have your 3 months bank statement, you already have your pay slip from 3 months. Because if we're going to look at personal versus business, business requires a whole lot of documents, because you need to then consult your accountant. You need to then get a tax clearance. There's so much that's needed when it comes to the business. So ultimately, hence, a lot of people will then apply for that first property using personal capacity. When it comes to trust, right, we're looking at generational wealth. Generational wealth. So what do I mean generational wealth? Is that when we're looking at personal and business, according to what Lebu said, they're exposed. So when we're looking at a trust, it's an independent legal form of ownership. So therefore, what it will help you is that it will protect the asset itself. So whether I do die or whether I do get a divorce, the property is not exposed because it's owned by the trust. And then thirdly, when it comes to business, the advantage of business, right, is that you are afforded affordability based on how much you earn, right? So now, the more we grow, we're getting to an age whereby we're going to be close to 65. And there might be a point in time whereby we need to retire. But now looking at a business, what retires a business? What informs one to retire or to stop a business as a whole? If we are cash flowing positive, let's say 2,500 from one property, we're buying one property every year. Year one, it was 2.5. Year two, it was 5. Year two, it was 5,000. Year three, it was 7.5. Year four, it was 10,000. So ultimately, even though we are growing, okay, the affordability is increasing. And with a business, it doesn't get to that point in time whereby the business needs to retire until you say that you'd like to sell. So we can then take advantage of the cash flow because the business does not retire until you say it's time to retire.
Now that you understand the pros and cons, now you can actually make a decision that do you want to own your property under trust, personal, or business? Now, if you want to know, according to you, what you should do, go to an attorney for them to actually sit down with you and understand where you are in your journey. But personally, what works for me is the trust.
This is one of the most underrated topics when it comes to property investing. It has a direct impact towards your financial freedom and generational wealth. This is something that we didn't consider a lot. We've made our mistakes. At first, I remember that, man, just move personal capacity until we really learned the dynamics and how much our assets are exposed.
And now the problem is that if you do not really understand what's going on here or the importance of this, you would only realize once you have actually made that mistake. If you found value on this video, you can actually hit the subscribe button and then watch this next video as we have a conversation with the attorney.
Invest like a pro?
Igama ngu Siyabonga Makubu, and I'm here attending the Norm Wealth property investment. No, absolutely. I think it would be very informative, very educational, and these guys are very deeply experienced in the field. Absolutely. I think this kind of removes that, you know, there's a lot of abstract, a lot of very deep information and like terms and things like that that is out there in things like property textbooks and stuff. So when they speak in a very practical way that's easy for someone that's not necessarily familiar with the space to also understand. I mean, after this, it feels like something that you can start tomorrow. So yes, I think I would recommend this to anyone that's interested in trying out and entering the property space.